Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be using SPSS to analyze data and look at frequency distributions. In this video I'm using SPSS 25, but it's very similar to other versions of SPSS. And I'm going to be using data from Milgram's classic experiments, where we're looking at how high people went up in terms of levels of shock in an experiment. If you're not already familiar with Milgram's experiments, I'd recommend that you go to the textbook website and look at one of the videos on Milgram's experiments, just so you have some context for the data that I'm talking about here. So in this data file, we actually have data from multiple studies in one data file, which is not how you would normally organize a data file. We just did this for the purpose of this demonstration so that we don't have to open up a whole bunch of different data files just to show you some simple analyses. All right, so our first column here, we have psychiatrist predictions. In this column, the data represents data where psychiatrists were asked, they were told about Milgram's experiment, and they were asked, well, how high do you think people will go on that scale? So the higher numbers indicate higher positions on that scale. So if we want to compute a frequency distribution or create a frequency distribution, we click on Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Frequencies. And then I guess all of your variables will be over on the left-hand side here in the box. Any variable that you're interested in analyzing and creating a frequency distribution table for, you move over into the variables box. You will also make sure that you have clicked on the display frequencies box here. This display frequency tables box will show us that table when we're done. You can also, under charts, ask for different kinds of charts, bar charts or histograms or pie charts. I'm going to say OK to that to get those as well. And then later on, when you know more statistics, you can ask for them in this menu as well. Ask for mean, medians, modes, and so forth. We're not doing that yet in this chapter, so I'm not going to click on these choices right now. Okay, so I click on OK to generate a frequency distribution table for the psychiatrist predictions. So it shows me here that I had 39 valid cases and 1 missing case. This is important. That missing case we don't want to look at. We want to ignore it. And so in our output, you can see that it has a percent column and a valid percent column. We're only looking at the valid percent column here because we're only looking at this 39 people for whom we have data. All right, so the way this is set up is that we have in this gray area here are the responses that the psychiatrist gave. So, for example, we have 2 people who said nobody would give any shocks. Right? 1 psychiatrist said they would go up to level 1. 14 psychiatrists said they would go up to level 10. And we have 1 person saying they would go up to level 20. And then we have the percent computed for each of those categories. So for each category, we have the frequency 2 divided by 39, which gives us the valid percent of 5.1. Right. So for example, if we look at the category 5, there are 6 people in that category, so 6 divided by 39, well, times 100, would give us the valid percent of 15.4. So in total, this adds up to 100%. Now we also have a cumulative percent column. Now what this cumulative percent column is doing is looking at the percent in that particular row. So for 2 people, gave a response of 0, the valid percent for that row is 5.1, and the cumulative percent is 5.1. Now if we go down to the next row, the cumulative percent is 7.7. And what that is it's the total of the percentage in column or in the row for row 1 and the row 0. So it's summing up the 2.7 and 5.1 to give us 7.7. That means 7.7% of psychiatrists gave estimates of, they're saying that people would only go to level 1 or 0. If we go down further, you can see that like at level 9, we have 51.3% of psychiatrists said that people would go to level 9 or lower. Right? So that's what the cumulative percentage columns mean. These can also be interpreted as percentiles. Okay. All right, so we also have down below, if you scroll down, you can see a graph, and we have a bar chart drawn here. One thing I want to point your attention to here is if you look at the bar chart, the y-axis is frequencies, the x-axis is the categories. So people could have made ratings of 0 all the way up to the very, very top of the scale. But note that it skips numbers. We have a 0, a 1, a 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and so forth. It's skipping numbers because nobody gave answers in those categories. So it's really important that you look at the y-axis and the x-axis when interpreting graphs, because different programs are going to do this a little bit differently. SPSS leaves out categories where nobody gave a response. So for the rest of the activity, all you need to do is go back to the Analyze menu, click on Descriptive Statistics, Frequencies, and then you can move any other variable into the variables box. You can take them out. You can move multiple variables over there simultaneously. So I would recommend only looking at one variable at a time based on the questions you're working with, so you don't get confused and accidentally look at the wrong output when you're trying to answer the questions there. Okay, but that is all you need in order to use SPSS to analyze the data for this first activity, Activity 1.1. All right, so good luck. I hope that helps.